So cut the air and I like fell down and everyone was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, way to make an entrance, Taylor.
It's amazing to me that she's only 14 years old. She's a girl on the cusp of becoming a woman.
You feel like, oh, she's so sweet. Dan needs to take care of Jenny. She's in trouble. And then she turns it on and you're like, I'm totally afraid of Jenny Humphrey. What is she gonna do to me?
And that's what's so great is that I get to do both. I get to play the, the nice girl and then I get to play the not so nice girl too. It's really, really fun.
Let's do it. I'm not a stop along the way. I'm a destination, and if you refuse to attend, I'm gonna have to find a replacement. Girls, the waiting list.
Leighton Meester, who plays Blair, is a riot. Leighton never misses a moment. She gets every color of the character.
There was an issue when we were auditioning Leighton Meester for Blair because she's a blonde originally.
Everybody, that really wanted me for it, they were like, oh, she'll dye her hair, it's fine. But everybody that had to be convinced, from the studio and the network, they were like, well, she has blonde hair. We just, what? Like, they couldn't get it. I started out with a wig and that just went all wrong.
And so for Leighton's final audition, we had her dye her hair brown. And it just worked.
So I ended up having to dye my hair before I even knew that I had the part.
And to ask a young actress with long blonde hair to dye her hair brown, you have to be pretty darn sure that you can get her this role.
You're kind of not invited, and Jenny used up all the invites.
Actually, you can go now.
It was important to find someone who could be as evil and mischievous as Blair can be, but with Leighton, you get that vulnerability.
She's evil, she's insecure, she's always striving, she's always worried about status. But I think because Leighton plays that character with so much joy and she's so funny about it.
Blair is probably a character that's the most like her character in the book. I think the Blair in the book is really fun, and she's kind of someone who's always scheming, always has a plan, always has something that she wants to achieve, and it never quite works out, no matter how hard she tries to manipulate the situation.
Always understand what's driving her and what's making her tick.
Blair, stop. You can talk to me.
Blake Lively, who plays Serena Vanderwoodson, is a force of nature. She's one of those people that walks in a room and everybody turns, and she is Serena in that way.
Serena was a character that we felt needed a bit of work because in the books, she's a really fun, funny character, but she's almost kind of Blair's foil in that Serena, things just come to her so easily, nothing's ever a problem. She kind of treats people badly without really thinking about it, and then somehow things always go her way anyways.
It's rare that we both read a script and have the exact same person in mind, and Blake was it.
Blake Lively was absolutely our first choice. She was, at the time, not interested in doing television.
When I was approached for Gossip Girl, I'd only ever done movies, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to do a TV show because it's 6 years of your life that you commit to being one character with one cast, playing one role.
But then I think when she read the script and met with us, she wanted to do it as badly as we wanted her to do it.
I read the first book. All my friends had read the books in school. I did want to get a good idea of who Serena was, who the people were around her, how they act in relation to one another, and how they affect each other's lives.
She is the ultimate California girl. So transforming her into a New York socialite and giving her that attitude and that edge and that sort of dark, partying past was not necessarily something that was in Blake's experience, but something that she was excited about, and the challenge of that and taking that on.
She sends herself to boarding school, and she faces a lot of persecution from her friends for disappearing and coming back and not going out and not partying and not sleeping with everyone. So she really goes against the crowd to try to do the right thing.
Spotted at Grand Central, bags in hand, Serena Vanderwoodson.
One challenge that the book presented was how to incorporate the Gossip Girl narrator, because of course when you're reading a book, you are reading what Gossip Girl wrote, and how do you translate that into an image?
We auditioned hundreds of girls for it, from
300.
Yeah, everyone from people who hadn't done anything before to very recognizable names.
Kristen Bell actually reached out to us. She had read the script and really responded to it.
She's kind of been able to play the part in a way that really sets the tone for the show.
I'm a personal fan of Kristen Bell, so I like it, and I think it's a good choice.
There's nothing Gossip Girl likes more than a good cat fight. And this could be a classic.
When we started the process, there was a strong part of me that said, this is a series about New York. We should have a New York cast, and instead we're casting completely out of Los Angeles and bringing all of these people in. And I must say that my New Yorker pride was a bit insulted by that fact, just knowing the kind of casts that we have here and just feeling like I'm sure we can find this incredible group of young actors here who can do this and have the authenticity of having grown up here, living here, knowing here. But once I met our cast, I was like, okay, I get it.
Well, it must be a shock for someone who thinks she knows everything. They wound up with all LA, but they got me. I'm a local, so to find a pilot that was not LA shoot, something that was close to home, was just perfect.
I was really passionate about wanting to shoot the show in New York, the most exciting city in the world, at the most exciting time in your life, you know, teenagers in that world. That was something that was pretty cool, and it was something I hadn't seen before on TV.
The only place you could see New York on television is if you wanted to look over the dead bodies, you know, when people were solving crimes.
8 Henry, take 1.
The city's really opened their arms up to the show. There's crazy street noise, buses and subways and people screaming and walking into the shot.
When we had to shoot the pilot out here, we knew that they're going to try to end up shooting here if it got picked up. And I remember kind of being a little bit hesitant. And they put us up at the Gramercy. And about after a week, I think I fell in love with it.
We came to New York, pretty much transplants. We all stayed in the same hotel for the pilot. It was like instant connection. It was like going away to camp or something. Everybody was kind of discovering the city together.
I love New York. Like, New York's the best. You can't beat it. The energy and the city and everything is just so cool. The first day of filming we were filming at the Met, and it was so cold. I remember that it was absolutely freezing. It was my first time I got to work with Leighton, with Blake, and it was great. You know, it was a really great scene.
Hi, I'm Serena.
I know. I mean, hi, I'm Jen.
The thing about the characters that was exciting against the backdrop of the Upper East Side is they're almost like royalty. They come from the old bloodlines of money. There's a lot of tradition, there's a lot of formality, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance that kind of enshrouds their world. So they do feel, in a way, like at least within their own bubble, like celebrities or like royalty.
A really fascinating visual interpretation of the Gossip Girl books was these very real 21st century kids of Gossip Girl to be living and walking through an old New York City.
So we came up with this notion of a modern-day Marie Antoinette.
We wanted the backdrop and the setting to feel timeless.
And that really helped guide a lot of decisions.
That had impact on our color palette and the sort of decor we use. And
It was sort of like a spin on Marie Antoinette.
it really worked. It gave us a real framework in which to approach every location and every scene. And
the colors were
the colors.
pink and blue. And we actually brought that theme into Blair's bedroom.
We chose this very, very lavish, overly decorated townhouse for the Waldorf residents. All the food we did was all these incredible colors and puffs and creams, and everything had that kind of lavishness.
Both Stephanie and Josh wanted to incorporate pop music as well as indie rock and a lot of like local New York bands.
Figuring out what the score for this show was going to be was kind of a real problem because we felt like anything that traditional score, we would lose all the kind of modernness that we were going for.
The Transcenders are these really great composers, and they've really understood what the sound of the show is.
I'm Mike Frattantuno. Brian Leipin.
Terrence Yoshiaki.
And we are Transcenders. We're the composing team for Gossip Girl.
It just felt like the perfect marriage. They were our only choice. Once we heard them, we had to have them.
We sort of approach it from more of a band standpoint. We sometimes sit here and just play along with the scene.
As we watch the scene, we start shaping it and taking instruments out and really trying to convey the scene without being over the top or trying to like really hit the viewer over the head. Like, this is a dramatic scene, so you know, here's some dramatic music.
Most of the instruments, the way we would record them if we were making a pop record, rather than, oh, we're gonna score this, let's get some cheesy sounding, you know, TV stuff. You know, we break out the guitars and the amps and like really try to get a sound that you would hear on a record.
We all played in bands together for so long that the collaboration just seemed natural to do it that way.
The sound of Gossip Girl was inspired by one piece of music that we had on our demo to get the composing job. All the people on